Jannik Sinner is the champion at the US Open. He defeats Taylor Fritz in straight sets. And this is me and Ben's thoughts.
So the US Open has ended. We had Jannik Sinner winning on the men's side. We had Sabalenka winning on the women's side. And the one thing that we noticed, which was similar to last year, which was the Cincinnati champions both won the US Open again. Lightning did strike twice, or if not, 4 times, which is a bit crazy. Jannik Sinner, the deserved winner on the men's side, though, only dropping 2 sets throughout the tournament. And we didn't even think he would even make the final, did we, JG? But what do we know?
Well, we did say that based off all of the antics happening off the court. We know he had them 2 positive tests in March. It's difficult to not talk about it nowadays, which is a real shame. But let's save that thought for a second. Let's speak about his tennis. He was exceptional. He was brilliant in the build-up, like you said, at Cincinnati. And it's highlighted to me what a special player he is. He's someone who is going to be at the top of the game for many years to come. He shared all of the slams in 2024 with Carlos Alcaraz, and we have a new front 2 in tennis. We already knew it probably a few years ago, but now the world knows it because they're sharing the slams, and I see both of them 2 going head-to-head for every single one. You may see a Zverev or a Medvedev really push them around, a Djokovic in his last few years do some damage, but really, them 2 are the ones to beat, and unless we see another player come there. We've got Jack Draper for the Brits, who's looking good. He's still a little bit away. I think physically needs to work on his conditioning for the longer matches at the Grand Slam level, but really impressed with his performances. And Sinner, back to him being a special player, I did my post-match reaction straight after the match, and I spoke about his tennis, which we all know is sublime. But that's not what makes him as special as I keep saying. The reason he is because he's a genius. He's a very, very intelligent, brilliant tactical, masterclass at times player. And he's someone who can put everything together. His ability, his tactical nous, his mentality, and it's all pushed together in one on a tennis court, and that's what makes him so difficult to play and beat. Novak Djokovic is someone who you'd also say is a bit of a genius. Similar with Federer, Nadal as well. They have this characteristic of someone who you want to stop and listen to because you feel like you're going to gain some kind of wisdom or knowledge from them. They're fascinating. They are a bit eccentric, a bit strange at times and weird. And that's what geniuses are. And I think Sinner has that weirdness, what makes him watchable and someone you want to listen to what he's got to say. For someone who's so young, the way he articulates himself in the post-match interviews is nothing short of magical. And I found myself sitting there watching it earlier and hanging on to every word he was about to say because he just speaks so well. And at a time when he's surrounded with so much controversy, I think he handles all of the questions regarding it like someone who's been doing this for about 100 years. He doesn't avoid the question, he answers the question, but he does it in a very nice, humble, amicable way, and always is grounded in his response. And I think a large part of that is to do with his upbringing. I know he was very close to his aunt. He did mention her. We'll get to that in a second. And I think he's got a very much family upbringing where they're all a close knit community. And through that strength and togetherness, it's allowed him to express himself on the tennis court. But I'm not just here on my own. We've also got Ben on the podcast. I'd like to welcome you on my co-host, Ben.
That's it. No, I like listening. Obviously, you're very passionate about it. I know that your family are from the same area as Jannik Sinner, so it's very big in your family, this win. I know there's been a lot of celebrations going on around the whole of Italy and in your own household at home. So congratulations to everybody who is now celebrating the King of the Dolomites, apparently. This is what he's being known as. I think it's just brilliant. I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think the humble upbringing, and I think that the fact that he has such a close-knit team around him, that's what makes him very likable as a person, and he doesn't try and shy away from the questions of the controversy. I think that he does. He just seems like an honest guy, and I think that's why I feel like it is difficult for people to really see that him doing things like the wrongdoing of these failed tests. It came as a real big shock to everybody. But there is still, with other players, if they had the same thing, you might have seen more foul play straight away in your mind. With him, your mind errs towards like, surely not. Like, I wouldn't ever think that of him. That's the thing. Like with him, he comes across as that type of guy. Obviously, we don't know what's going on, but I think this all comes from his upbringing. I think it is, like you said. I love the fact that his parents and his whole family have like nurtured everything he wanted to do when he was growing up and just allowed him the freedom to just be himself. And I think that it just comes out. The fact he speaks so many languages as well, I think is brilliant. I think it just shows he's just a very intelligent young guy. And the intelligence you see on a tennis court. And he's very open about, he doesn't know everything as well. He keeps saying, I could have done a lot of things better. I don't think that I'm the finished product. Nowhere near the finished product, I don't think he thinks that he is. But the fact that performance against Taylor Fritz in the final was nothing short of what you'd expect from like a Djokovic or a Nadal against somebody in those sort of positions of playing
wasn't it?
Yeah, playing a player who's coming on the come up, looking really good, playing his best ever tennis, Taylor Fritz, leading up to that final. But when you come up against the world number one, just it wasn't close. People may disagree that it was closer than it was. I didn't ever see Taylor Fritz throughout that match ever coming close to winning it. And I know that that's a bit rude, but that was just the feeling I got on the court by looking at it. I just didn't ever see the real threat. And Jannik Sinner never looked panicked for one moment in that final.
Yeah, never looked panicked. But that third set, Taylor Fritz did run him close, and the crowd got
Good
behind him. He started hitting a bit bigger. You could see the crowd were sort of willing him over the line a little bit, and I thought he was going to win that set. Sinner saved the opportunity for him to serve out. I think he was serving for the set, and then he managed to break him, and then end up breaking him after that, and to win the match. But big moments they were in that third set. Could have turned the match a little bit. The confidence, the crowd getting up, Fritz believing in himself again. But Sinner just does what champions do, and he is a bit like Djokovic, very much so, I think. And he is so intelligent tactically, and he always speaks about him and his coaches. We know he's with Darren Cahill, and the fact that they work so much on who they're playing and the opponent, and they prepare for that match. They're not just focusing on his game. He's focusing on who he's going to be playing and what his best skills can be in order to overcome that opponent. And that sort of plays into the intelligence side of Jannik Sinner. What I said a second ago about his aunt, let's go there now. And this is the tennis letter.
Okay.
And he was asked about why he dedicated the US Open to his aunt. He said his parents, they worked every day, all day. So sometimes he had to go to the ski races with her. She probably took him and spent the time with him. She was very supportive in his early years, and it's something he's always remembered. He said, when you're young, you don't go to practice every day, so I hang around a lot with her, and she's a very important person in my life. He then went to say, we travel a lot. It's difficult to spend time with the people who you really love. But if you would have more time, for sure I would spend more time with the people I really care for. He is very grounded in his family values. And that as much as people don't realise, all of these things play into what a great tennis player is. Because between number 1 and 10 in the world, there's not that much ability-wise. There's not that much really between 10 and 50. Or even 50 and 100. They're all really outstanding tennis players. One might have a little bit of a bigger serve, but one may be brilliant at the net, and one's got better forehands and backhands. But still, as a collective, they're all excellent tennis players who can do every shot in the book. But what makes the best players is they're able to raise their level in big moments, number one, and they've got a mentality to win. And I think that comes from calmness under pressure, values of family, and a feeling of intelligence and tactical know-how. It's all these small little
I think
details which
security
Jannik
is
Sinner
one
has.
as well. Like
Security, another one. Yeah.
knowing that even if you do fail, those people will still be there. Like no matter what. Some people fear that if they lose, that everything that they have will just disappear. Like all the people around them,
True,
they've
yeah.
got a lot of yes men around them. Like if I suddenly become a failure, will all those people disappear and move off to other teams? And with him, I don't think he's ever had that worry. I think that he's not like a flash guy either. He's never been the type of person who's just wandering around trying to look like, oh look, I'm the big G. Oh, look. No, he's always just looks like he'd be happy just sitting in a pair of shorts, eating a bowl of pasta in the mountains somewhere. That's what I think. I don't know why I've got that image in my head. Get that out quickly.
Yeah, well, this is another nice one which sums up what we've been saying. That is Jannik Sinner is a well-raised, hard-working young man who doesn't deserve the torrent of abuse he's received despite clearing his name within the rules. Major respect to him for, one, never shying away from the subject matter, and two, rising above it all on his way to his second Grand Slam. The questions are always going to be asked, and rightly so. Like, at the end of the day, he was caught up in this controversy, and the tennis media and fans and players, I feel, have a right to question things and speak out about it. But the way he's handled it is brilliant. He doesn't shy away. He answers in a very interesting, clever way. And I found myself listening to him and fully believing everything he's saying. He has been cleared his name. So for me, we've got to just take it as he is innocent. It's very unfortunate he's been caught up in something which can have such damaging effects on his whole career. I don't feel like this is never going to be forgotten. Doesn't matter. I think in 15, 20 years, people will still remember this, and there'll be a select few who will discredit everything he goes on to do. That will not be me, though, and I will be cheering him on and hoping that the normal person will give him the respect he deserves.
I think it's all about just earning it as well through your actions on and off the court. I don't think he comes across as an arrogant, cocky, that type of character. And he just tries to come across as somebody who's relatable and honest. That's what he's trying to do right now. The thing that we had the problem with in the first place, I think, wasn't the facts of the tests. It was the facts of that we were kept in the dark, and every media source wasn't able to have this information for so many months. That was the biggest thing, because if it had come out at the time, it'd still be in the same situation, I think, but we just wouldn't have this now. Like, why we only find about now? Why is he only sacking his coach now? All of these questions suddenly coming out now, and it's all like all at one single moment just before a massive Grand Slam tournament, which he's now gone on and won. Does it like tarnish the slam a little bit? I mean, I think to him and his closest people, no. I don't think so. I think that this will still be as legitimate a Grand Slam as any that has ever been won before. And I don't think he'll be listening to people on social media. I think he won't listen. He's a smart enough guy to not do that.
Yeah, we're going to go to some very vocal people on social media in a second. Before we do, let's look at what he said about Alcaraz. He was asked how it felt being all the slams being shared with him. He said, "It's nice to see new champions and rivals. I will always have players that will make me a better player. Not everything was perfect today. That makes me realise that the work never stops if you want to be a better player." So he turned it on how he wants to improve and get better. He also said he wants to get stronger, get back in the gym. He knew that was a weakness of his, and he's still got a lot of work to do in that regard. But how do you feel about them two winning all the slams this year? Do you think this is now what we're going to see for the foreseeable, or do you have a feeling that in the next few years we're going to see someone we're maybe not talking about right now come out of nowhere and be someone who rivals a Sinner and an Alcaraz as well?
I think there will be somebody else. Maybe we don't even know the name yet, but I think that we will see their names on the trophies on multiple slams coming up over the next, say, 2 or 3 years. I'm all for it. I think this is just what tennis needs right now. We need a new rivalry. Obviously, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, they're all Murray, all disappearing. I feel that men's tennis has sort of been it's been overcome by just support for those three players for so long that it's sort of not stagnated the rest of the men's game, but it's sort of left everybody else out in the lurch. And I think the fan bases haven't been able to form fully for other players while those players are still in existence. I think that them winning all the slams this year is a brilliant start to now. I think when we get a divide down the middle, you pick your Alcaraz or your Sinner. I quite like it because then people are going to be taken aside and it creates this now, not conflict, but people with a healthy appetite to see, I'm supporting Sinner, I'm supporting Alcaraz. I don't want people just to be supporting both of them. I want people to pick a side and I want people to be cheering one or the other because that's what's going to help grow this men's game moving forward.
So talking about picking a side, Ben, I want you to pick a side right now. Not who you like more, but the question I've got for you is who do you think's had a better 2024? Sinner or Alcaraz?
I mean, it's a really good question. Really, really. I mean, it's been up and down, hasn't it? We didn't know who to pick. Coming up now, I would have to say Jannik Sinner. Before this US Open, I would have probably gone Carlos Alcaraz. It's amazing how it changes in the space of a month, isn't it?
Okay, how about this? Alcaraz wins in Turin, the ATP Finals. Does Alcaraz have the better year then?
I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to get the world number one off him. I think Sinner's had such a strong year, and I think it's still. I think the tournaments that are left this year suit Jannik Sinner better than they suit Carlos Alcaraz as well.
But despite that, you think
Sinner? I think.
Sinner.
I think Sinner's had the better year. I think this has been his real breakout year as well. And the fact he's done this now in the face of controversy it shows even bigger mental strength than I even thought was possible for him. So fair play to him. He's here to stay, everybody.
Yeah, and we're going to obviously speak about this Sinner and Alcaraz 2024 in more detail on another podcast next week. So let's not say any more about that and move on to the next big topic, which is some of the trolls online. And one of the most vocal ones has been Nick Kyrgios. We're going to tie this segment in to a very special person in Jannik Sinner's life as well. And it's not Nick Kyrgios, but it is Anna Kalinskaya. They are dating. She was in the box for Jannik Sinner when he won the US Open. You can see the images after the final, them both embracing, taking photos with the trophy. She's posted them on his on her Instagram saying how she's so happy and she loves all the team and she's very invested. But if we wind back a little bit, there was an incident regarding serving where, well, there's been a lot of calls for Kyrgios to be sacked from his role in the broadcasting team. I believe, is it ESPN he's working for, or one of the American
I think so.
broadcasters? I'm not sure exactly the name. And the comment he made, I'll leave you to explain it.
Well, yeah, he came up with this classic one. Obviously, he's known for his serves as well. Came up with second serve being his comment about Anna Kalinskaya, obviously dating, Jannik Sinner. And I think he's alluding to...
No, he posted the photo. He
of
deleted
him
it
and
as well.
Him
and
Kalinskaya.
Kalinskaya at the basketball with a second serve caption.
Yeah, which is a bit bad taste, I think. I mean, I know that we've got to take everything a bit tongue-in-cheek with Kyrgios.
You say that, but you did find it funny.
It is a little bit funny, but I still think that you've got to take everything with Nick Kyrgios because there's a whole package. He's a troll, number one. You've got to remember, this is Nick Kyrgios we're talking about. And we like his honest opinion, and we also like the fact he's a bit controversial. So if he starts saying this type of thing and we're going to jump on his back, then he's just going to go away forever and we won't get anything from him. So
I don't think he's going to go away forever.
But
I think it'll take an awful lot for him to stop doing it. But then you've got to pick your side. Do you like him the way he is, or do you not like it? Because you take it as it is.
For me, it doesn't really bother me. I think Jannik Sinner won't take... if he's not going to be bothered about people calling him everything under the sun over the last God knows how many weeks, this is going to be like water off a duck's back to him. So I think the social media like this and find it, they want to take a side and try and jump on Nick Kyrgios as much as possible. If Jannik Sinner's not doing it, then why should everybody else care?
Yeah, agreed. And this comment's quite funny if you scroll down. So someone replied and said, when a second serve is needed, it means the first serve sucked. Obviously a dig at Nick Kyrgios. The next one I want to go to, which is rather funny as well, I don't know if you've got it there, Ben, is Massimo.
Yes, I can find Massimo.
Bring up Massimo.
Right.
And I'm going to let you read it because I don't think you've read it yet.
I did. I had a quick look, but
Okay, have you read it? So if not, I'll read it then. So the reporter, good morning. Is winning the US Open a dream come true for you? And Jannik replied, yes, as a kid. I always dreamed of winning the US Open, just like Nick Kyrgios. The reporter, when did Nick Kyrgios win the US Open? And Jannik replied, he has never won it. It's also his dream. Obviously, this didn't happen, but it is a very funny sketch of, well, an imagination of something what could have happened and been very funny.
Yeah, I think it's good to have like a little bit of creative, use of Jannik Sinner's words. What's going on in his head? Maybe that is what's going on in his head. But I don't think he is ever going to be the type of person who will ever go back on social media to counter anything. I just don't think he'll ever take the bait. Do you?
No, never. And he's just too smart. That's the thing. I think if you're that smart, you don't do it. It's a sign of his intelligence. And Kalinskaya seems to really like him because after the match, she gave him a good kiss when he wasn't really wanting one. And it is a little bit awkward. Well, for some people, you didn't think it was, but some people do.
I think it's just in those type of scenarios, you're never quite sure what's going on. Obviously, he
was going for the normal hug. He wasn't expecting anything more. He went for the normal hug, and then as the hug progressed, you can see he's turning a little bit. He's turning the head. He then moves away. You have to go a bit faster. Oh, she just pulls him in. And he's like, oh no, everyone's looking at me. This is going to be all over tennis TV. And of course, it was everywhere. And people are loving it. People love a romance and they love a tennis one. They're a very popular couple right now. And Tsitsipas and Badoza, gosh, they're old news. Nobody even wants to know what they're up to anymore. Everyone's interested in Kalinskaya.
Does it give you a little bit of the Tommy Paul vibes? A little bit. What do you think? Little bit of the. I'll give you just in case you've forgotten. Here it is. And
I do remember that.
Just in case What? Oh, there you go. Just pull him in a little bit there.
No, it's funny when she's in the locker room posing with the trophy without him in it. She's like, get out.
There you go. A nice big smacker there. That's the picture. Where's he looking there? He's looking somewhere else. He's looking in the crowd. Looking to his box.
Looking for the exit, I think.
I'm not sure what's going on there. But anyway, nice bit of romance in the tennis world. It's great to see, isn't it? But a few other tweets we've got. This isn't romance, and it's the opposite, really. I mean, when there's a bit of tennis going on, we've been speaking about a bit of tennis betting and how is it good to have sponsorships by tennis betting companies? Well, couldn't be any more the opposite of advertising for betting because somebody put a big bet on Taylor Fritz to win. And can you guess who it is? Yes, it's that man again, Drake. He seems to lose a lot of bets, doesn't he?
My problem with this is deeper than this. So he obviously bets on all of the boxing. Yeah. We've seen him with the Jake Paul stuff going against him here and there. Or basically his record's shocking. I think he's lost every single one. The Drake curse, they call it. But it's a little bit deeper than that. I don't think he even wants to win. He doesn't need to win these bets. He has a massive stake in the company, in which he's obviously promoting all the time. I think I was reading online. He made in 2022. He was making $100,000 annually just from the partnership. I'm assuming it's a lot more than that. So all of these are fully funded for a start, and I think it's just encouraging the wrong kind of spirit, especially what we've seen in tennis recently. How a lot of the players have been getting abuse from gamblers who are losing their bets. To put this ridiculous amount of money on matches when he's probably not that big of a tennis fan himself. It's just trying to garner up interest for the betting company's stake. I'm against it. I just don't really like it, and I'm glad he lost.
Yeah. Who? Fritz or Drake?
Sorry.
Well, you'd be interested to know he sent him a tirade of abuse after this on DM, and Taylor Fritz was crying himself to sleep after receiving that.
I don't think so. He doesn't care. He got that 200 grand. He probably made that back just from posting that tweet.
Yeah, that's true. What a sad...
He makes so much money.
Yeah, that is the problem, isn't it? In this day and age, like these people who are like these big high rollers, what's 100 grand here and 100 grand there? Absolutely.
Well, especially if you're getting paid by the company you're promoting to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's even more ridiculous as well, isn't it? Let's move away from gambling because, there's one person who's been gambling in slams and also losing, and that's Daniil Medvedev. Daniil Medvedev has lost to the eventual champion at 5 of the last 6 slams.
That just shows how unlucky Daniil Medvedev's been. Quality player. I had him beating Sinner here. It wasn't to be, but he's been pretty unlucky with the draws, isn't he? I mean, he just loses to the champion every time. So that just shows the level of Daniil Medvedev. If he is to get a nice draw where big players go out early and he gets to avoid them, he will be there to mop up the rest and win a slam or two. And that's why I put him behind the big two as the third favourite for the slams in 2025.
Interesting. Well, talking about people who were born in different times as well and their records, this was a really interesting one you sent over, saying the 90s born men are now a woeful 2 wins and 19 losses in slam finals, with one of the wins coming in an all 90s final. And then it's got the list of these players here. Let's just go through them. Raonic, 2016 team, 2018 team, Medvedev, team, Zverev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas.
Team won there. Team won.
Yeah,
he won it because it was Zverev. So that's what I'm saying. That was one of the finals between the 90s.
Then we got the Medvedev one against Djokovic there, and then all the others: Medvedev, Ruud, Kyrgios, Ruud, Tsitsipas, Ruud, Medvedev, Zverev, and Fritz. And then, as he says here, the 2000s now 6-0.
Yeah, it's sad. I am one of the 90s as well. That is, gives away my age maybe a little bit. I'm one of the 90s kids, so it's a shame that we're just not repping on a tennis court at all. It's sad how bad the record is, but then when you look at the 2000s, they're brilliant, unplayable.
Yeah, I'm more of the Djokovic era. I'm just there, right there with him.
To be fair, your era is quite good.
Thriving.
What was that, the 80s?
Yeah.
Or 70s? I forget how old you are.
60, McEnroe, that era. Right, moving on to the last one. And this one, I think it's a good place to finish because I think this is pretty much where it all started. We've come full circle. Jannik Sinner saying, it's good to have some time off again and restart in China.
Yeah, so that's where he's going next. It's going to be in China. And it started with him throwing up in a bin. And from that moment on, he was unplayable and a brilliant player. He got drugged to the hilt and become... No, obviously not. But he's just... he's going back there to China. He's already qualified for Turin. What more? I don't know. He doesn't need to do anything more this year. Just play what he wants to play. Been exceptional. He's going to be year-end number 1. Rightly so. And let's see if we can see a similar level in 2025 from him. But let's wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. This was our roundup of the men's US Open final. Jannik Sinner, the champion. Second time now. Alcaraz has won 4. Sinner's won 2. And they're coming for Novak Djokovic.
They are indeed. All right. Big shout out to Draper as well. Good tournament at the US Open. And maybe he'll be 3 times better after throwing up 3 times on court.
In a bit.